It was late afternoon in November 1971, and Flight 305 had just taken off from Portland, Oregon. Somewhere above the rugged forests of the Pacific Northwest, a man passed a note to a flight attendant demanding $200,000 in cash and 4 parachutes. Within hours, he had vanished from the sky, leaving nothing behind but questions. I'm Haris Ali Khan, and you are watching Haris Files. Today we will examine the events of that day, the evidence collected by investigators, and the theories that have persisted for more than 50 years, piecing together the story of the man known only as D.B. Cooper. It was the afternoon of November 24, 1971. Flight 305 had just taken off from Portland, Oregon, bound for Seattle. The plane was a small, narrow-bodied Boeing 727, carrying just over 30 passengers. The cabin hummed with the low chatter of travelers and the quiet shuffle of flight attendants moving through the aisle. Outside, clouds hung heavy across the Pacific Northwest sky, rain streaking the windows and pattering against the fuselage. Boarding had been slow, tense, with travelers eager to reach their destinations. Somewhere among them, a man in a business suit handed a note to a flight attendant. It was short, precise, $200,000 in cash and 4 parachutes. The calmness of his delivery contrasted sharply with the danger in his demands. Within hours, he would disappear from the plane and, in the process, from history. I'm Haris Ali Khan, and you are watching Haris Files. Today we begin with a story that challenges what we know about crime, planning, and chance. In 1971, airport security was minimal compared to modern standards. Flight attendants carried no weapons, metal detectors were rare, and cash transfers on board were nearly unheard of. Even in this environment, a single individual could hijack a plane, issue his demands, and vanish without a trace. The stage was set for one of the most puzzling mysteries in American history. In 1971, the name D.B. Cooper didn't exist. Investigators would later use it to identify the man who hijacked Flight 305, but at the time, he was simply another passenger blending into the crowd. Most descriptions paint him as an average-looking man, mid-30s, dressed in a business suit, calm and polite. Yet his actions suggested meticulous planning. He knew how to board quietly, how to deliver his demands without raising immediate alarm, and how to anticipate the crew's reactions. Professional assessments suggest he likely had prior knowledge. He knew the plane model, the procedures, and the environment he was stepping into. Every move was measured, deliberate. This was not the act of someone improvising. It was a carefully executed plan designed to exploit the vulnerabilities of air travel at the time. By understanding the context, we see that the man who would become D.B. Cooper was operating in a world where a single individual could challenge an entire system and vanish without a trace. The hijacking began shortly after takeoff as Flight 305 climbed toward its cruising altitude. Around 30 minutes into the flight, the man in the business suit handed a folded note to flight attendant Florence Schaffner. The note, at first glance, seemed innocuous, but when she read it, she realized it contained a demand: $200,000 in cash and 4 parachutes. The calmness of his delivery contrasted sharply with the danger in his demands. She complied quietly, signaling to the pilot and discreetly passing the information. As the flight continued, the tension in the cabin grew. Passengers were unaware of the full scope of the threat, while the crew followed his instructions carefully. He instructed that the plane divert to Reno, Nevada, a route that required precise planning given the weight of the passengers and the cash. Every action was measured. He spoke calmly, maintained composure, and reassured the crew when necessary, keeping control without overt threats. After the plane landed in Reno, the ransom was delivered and the parachutes prepared. Shortly after takeoff over the forests of southwestern Washington, the hijacker opened the aft stairs and jumped into the night. The conditions were harsh. overcast skies, rain, and strong winds, yet there was no trace of him after he left the plane. The aircraft, otherwise intact, continued to Seattle, leaving behind only the empty seat and a bewildered crew. In the immediate aftermath, investigators recovered the hijacker's demands and parachute plans. Witness accounts were inconsistent. Some passengers remembered seeing movement near the rear exit, while others recalled only a brief commotion. No body, no clear landing site, and no definitive trace of the money were ever found. Experts note that the disappearance defied all expectations. A parachute jump at night, in poor weather, with no GPS, and from a commercial airliner was extraordinarily risky. Yet somehow the hijacker vanished completely. The precision, timing, and knowledge required suggest careful planning and perhaps preparation beyond what could be observed. It is this combination of meticulous execution and inexplicable disappearance that has kept the mystery of D.B. Cooper alive for decades. The FBI immediately took control of the case, opening what would become one of the longest and most unusual investigations in its history. Agents reviewed the flight plan, interviewed crew and passengers, and combed through the ransom exchange process for any clue that might lead to the hijacker's identity. Official case files document every step from the initial threat to the months of follow-up work. On the ground, searches stretched across the rugged forests of southwestern Washington. Helicopters, search teams, and tracking dogs scoured miles of remote terrain. Yet the conditions made the work nearly impossible. Dense trees, uneven ground, and unpredictable weather limited visibility and slowed progress. Investigators struggled to distinguish natural debris from potential evidence, and many areas were simply inaccessible. Evidence collected included portions of the ransom money discovered years later along the Columbia River, the parachutes used during the hijacking, and detailed passenger testimonies. Each piece raised new questions rather than providing answers. Some accounts conflicted on small details, the exact movements of the hijacker, timing of the jump, and even the number of parachutes visible. These inconsistencies complicated the reconstruction of events. Professional analysis notes that the tools available in 1971 were limited. Forensic science was basic by today's standards. There was no DNA testing, no digital records, and no advanced tracking technology. The investigation relied heavily on observation, interviews, and physical searches. Even with careful procedures, the harsh terrain, incomplete evidence, and the hijacker's apparent preparation created a case that would frustrate authorities for decades, leaving many questions unanswered. One of the most enduring theories is that D.B. Cooper survived the jump. Proponents argue that he carefully planned the escape, selected a suitable landing zone, and disappeared into the dense forests. Supporters point to the skillful handling of the plane's aft stairs and his calm demeanor as evidence of preparation. However, critics note the extreme risks: poor visibility, heavy rain, strong winds, and the lack of proper landing gear make survival uncertain. No body or definitive trace of Cooper has ever been found to confirm this theory. Another possibility is that he did not survive the jump. The weather and terrain were unforgiving, and even an experienced parachutist could have been injured or killed upon landing. Evidence for this comes from the small portions of ransom money later found along the Columbia River, suggesting that his belongings could have been scattered naturally. Yet without a body or personal effects, this explanation remains speculative. Investigators and historians have also proposed identity-based theories. Over the years, several suspects have been suggested, ranging from experienced skydivers to individuals with criminal records or aviation knowledge. Some leads seemed promising but ultimately fell short, often contradicted by timelines, physical descriptions, or lack of evidence. Alternative scenarios have also been considered. Some experts speculate that Cooper may have received inside help, that he fell accidentally during the jump, or that certain evidence was misidentified or overlooked. Each theory carries both strengths and weaknesses, and experts continue to debate which is most plausible. Despite decades of study, inconsistencies remain. Witness reports vary, recovered items tell partial stories, and key details about his planning and escape remain unanswered. These gaps are what keep the case alive, inviting speculation while resisting definitive conclusions. The mystery endures because, in the absence of conclusive evidence, every possibility seems both plausible and impossible. More than 50 years have passed since that November night in 1971, yet the story of D.B. Cooper remains as elusive as ever. From the moment he boarded Flight 305, handed a note to the flight attendant, demanded $200,000 and parachutes, and vanished into the rainy night over Washington state, the events unfolded with precise timing and a calm that baffled those on board. Investigators scoured forests, analyzed evidence, and examined hundreds of leads, while experts proposed theories ranging from his survival to accidental death, identity speculation, and even the possibility of inside assistance. Despite the recovered ransom fragments and witness accounts, critical questions remain unanswered. Who was D.B. Cooper? How did he vanish so completely? Did he survive the jump, or did the forest swallow him? These uncertainties highlight the limitations of investigative methods at the time and the extraordinary skill or luck required to pull off such a crime. The case also had lasting implications for aviation security. Airlines implemented metal detectors, stricter boarding procedures, and reinforced protocols to prevent similar incidents. Yet even with decades of technological advances, the allure of the Cooper mystery endures, a reminder of how a single act can challenge systems, experts, and expectations. Professional commentators note that part of what makes this case compelling is its combination of meticulous planning, incomplete evidence, and enduring ambiguity. For viewers, it stands as a cautionary tale of unpredictability and human ingenuity, and a reminder that some mysteries may never be fully solved, leaving us to wonder what really happened in the dark, rainy skies over the Pacific Northwest.